Hello, all you cosmic travelers and wanderers. This is Darlene and K. Melissa Waterman, inviting you to join us today in our episode of Expansion from Within, Exploring Multidimensionality.
Let me introduce you to my friend and dear colleague, Darlene Grift. She is a lifetime experiencer, a medical intuitive, and a multidimensional mediator for over 35 years. She's also an author, an artist, a teacher, and a mentor for spiritually invested people.
And K. Melissa Waterman is my friend and colleague, and she's an intuitive mentor, a spiritual teacher. She also works with energy on many levels. In the past, Melissa has worked with Dr. Joe Dispenza on his research team.
Join us on our journey of meeting multidimensional beings, exploring what it means to be human, and expanding our spiritual evolution. So happy to be here again for another interesting time with you, Darlene. I was reviewing the listener questions and we only have 2 left. So I was thinking we would just ask them at the beginning of each episode rather than wait. I think our idea originally was to gather them all and have a whole episode that would sort of question. So since we only have 2 left and we're going completely out of order that they've been asked, I thought I'd start today with a question from Linda from episode 4, which was back in March.
Yeah.
The question is, what separates multidimensional beings of my soul's journey from the multidimensional beings of another person's soul's journey? I think we need to talk about what a soul's journey is to answer this question.
So each one of us has a soul journey, our long life, right? So it's something that we've been in many timelines in order to become this particular person in this particular lifetime. Okay. So it's an accumulation of multitude of timelines of how many times we've been here on Earth, or is there other places that we existed? So we have those experiences of images or who we were in physical form in those timelines that we can relate to others. We can relate, like we have a timeline that we discovered with S1E17 with you, a spirit too, with you, because you're related to dragons in some way. She is a dragon. It's her timeline of however many thousands of years she existed that I'm not aware of her timeline with you. And yet she is, because she brought it forward to you. For me, I'm in the other half of that, or some period of time where she's coming into the council on what the importance of that is to the other council members. Can we share? Yeah, but we're still individual. She shared between you and I, and probably thousands of other people in some way, right, that are related to dragons or that have been in a timeline with her or other dragons. So you have the collective dragon energy that other people are involved with, and you have the thousands of years of each timeline that is their history that other people can be involved with that I wouldn't know anything about, or nor would you. So it can be a shared thing where we have the same kind of timeline, but we're individual within that timeline, or it could be shared because you have an interest in dragons and maybe you don't have anything to do with dragons at all in any timeline that you're aware of, but the communication between the two of you may be shared. I see her one way, she communicates with you another way because you have an interest. To answer Linda's question, I believe we can share them, but are they is she the same thing to you as she is to me? No, because you share a different timeline or a different time period within her timeline. Does that make sense?
But she's part of both of our soul's journey.
Yes, she is not our soul, but
No.
she is part of our soul's. Yes.
Right. She's not part of our soul, but our soul's journey. Like if the way I see the soul's journey is like there is a mission, for lack of a better word, to be accomplished over many lifetimes, possibly other timelines. The image I have in my mind is that timelines might be like a tree branch, and there are other timelines that shoot off, and there are whole other branches that touch and cross. And so it's more, timelines can be all intertwined, but a soul's journey is the whole tree.
Yes.
Okay, just wanted to have that as a basis, so we're talking about the same thing. And so then it would seem to me that there could be a spirit guide of yours that's also a spirit guide of mine
Mm-hmm.
on our soul's journeys. And there could be a multidimensional being, or 5 or 25,
Mm-hmm.
that are also aiding my soul's journey in their own ways. They could be completely different timelines for each of us, but also they could be different timelines as far as places on the timeline. Someone might
Yes.
end up in our future. Someone could be from, like Espiritu was from my distant past, but they're still part of what's helping me become, I want to say, evolved, awake, mature being in my own journey. That's the purpose of a soul's journey, is to become more awake, more evolved, more. Does that make sense?
Yeah, as long as it's clear that they are not us, like they are here to, like, even the people that I'm working with, if I mention a name or they've seen one of the paintings or whatever, they will relate to certain ones, like, oh wow, I really know her, or that being has showed up in my meditations or whatever. I may not have any idea of what that is for them, but they call on them and they work with them, right? Because they resonate with them. You have to remember, it's all frequency, right? It's how we resonate. It's what maybe we're not even connected in the past, but there's something for that individual multidimensional being that has a gift for us now, or has information for us now, that is one of those little tree branches, right? That says, oh, I can be available for this person to move forward in some way, to evolve.
Right. I don't think there's any confusion. I hope there's not, with our listeners, that we would be them, that we would be one with them. We're each individual beings.
Right. It's very important that we're each individual beings that are in a collectiveness of timelines.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. So I'm just going to read the question again, and then we'll move on to our main topic today.
Okay.
So it's, what separates the multidimensional beings of my soul journey from the multidimensional beings of another soul journey?
And I would say that, choice. There isn't really a separation, a physical separation. It's all choice and need.
Right. Right. I think that's a great answer. That's the simplest, lovely answer. Thank you.
Well, we finally got to it, Melissa.
That's right. I like the circuitous route. So today we're going to speak with, through Darlene, the Blu Avian. And again, there will be a picture up on, it's the Anchor website, in case anyone's curious to see these images. I'm not sure they come through on your podcast app, but they are on the Anchor website. And you just do the same thing. You search for
Expansion from Within, Exploring Multidimensionality.
So you could go to anchor.com and search for the episodes, and the art of each of these beings will be up with the episode. So today we're talking with Blu Avian.
He's a little flighty today. How about that?
He's flighty. Well, that's good. He's an avian. It seems reasonable. He could be
Yes,
flying.
he can fly, right?
Yeah. So my first question is, can you tell us about yourself and your species?
So what he's saying is that, they come from another, what they call a blue planet, even though Earth is called the blue planet. He would say that they doesn't look anything, or it looked like the original form of what this planet looked like. It was much more water than we have now. His species are, see, he doesn't consider himself as a species. He considers himself as an evolved human.
Evolved human.
With choice and their particular line of evolved humans have chosen to be more avian
Mhm.
due to their abilities to fly, due to their abilities to intellectually oversee areas. It's more about what they chose for themselves in order to comprehend a larger picture, because they have more access of the overseeing. What he would say is that just like the condor that is in the council, that is the overseer, the avian manifesting to be an avian gives that little bit of an vantage point of being an overseer of what is happening on not only their planet, but others as well. So they have more of a conceptual attitude or conceptual overview of what's happening. So what he would say also is that he wants to make it clear that they are not military.
Mhm.
They're not like drones. So they're not being controlled
Mhm.
by any overseeing power over them to be utilized.
Great.
So, it's more by choice, and it's more in that overseeing, it's more for their personal development. And occasionally they will, like his place on the council is to bring in more future information, because he is a future part of the council. He doesn't exist here. He exists, it's coming up like 300 to 500 years from now. He exists in this capacity as being an evolved human. He exists in a level of being avian just because of choice and not because of instruction or being owned.
Mhm.
Like he's saying that's very important for their species. He's
Mhm.
using the word species in quotation marks, that they are not owned. And yet there is something about, like, when I first met him, it was the 4 years that I was involved in meeting all the 28. I knew of 9 of them prior to that and worked with them for 20 some years, but the others came in, and it took 4 years for them to train me as a mediator, to be able to hear their story, to write that down, to be the recorder of who they were and how they're interconnected. And I was in meditation with, let me see, there were 6 of us in meditation this one night. This was probably 3 years into the 4-year process. In this meditation came this blue fireball, right? It just came. I didn't know what that was, but it definitely had an energy. And because I was in that place of understanding there was more to this counsel that they were showing me, I always paid attention to things that came in that I didn't understand. It wasn't until a few days later, and there might have been a message that came in with that, but offhand, I don't remember what it was. But I was visiting someone's house, and they were looking at something on YouTube, and a picture of a Blu Avian popped up, and it was blue with a red flame, like a red image that came out of the blue when I first saw it. And when I saw the Blu Avian, I was like, oh my God, it's a Blu Avian. I started doing work with bringing in the Blu Avian. Now, what you need to understand about Blue is Blue has red feathers on the top of his head. In the painting, I didn't paint them as long as he would have liked, because he uses them as and I've only seen him do it once or twice, is that when he is emotionally engaged in some way, that there is conflict, or that there is something that he has strong to say, that he is indefinite. I would say not anger, but something like that, where he wants to move
Passionate.
forward, passion, those feathers go up, just like a cockatoo. So those feathers go up. Now those feathers are all the way down his back. So he's got short blue with those red feathers coming up. So when I saw that and was introduced to him, and he started to come in as an image, like not a fireball anymore, but more of an image, there was some, because they don't smile. When we see somebody that is just stern most of the time, because they still have their front of their face is still beak-like. So there's not necessarily a capacity to smile. There's not the facial features that we have. So he can be a little intimidating. He's very tall. He's about 7 foot tall. And in the council, what he does is he's kind of like the overseer with the condor, but he holds a position of future information.
Can we talk about his timeline and how he's from 350 years into the future? Is it our timeline? Is he on Earth?
He is not on Earth. He is aware of Earth. The Blu Avians are very aware of Earth, and they have been for quite some time.
Is it because they're human in nature?
It's because they have a human DNA that is still part of their DNA, even though they chose to be more feathered. They have been here in a rescue capacity that is part of their long life, talking about their long life. They were blue beings at one point before they turned into Blu Avians. They like the blue. The blue, it represents their planet. It represents who they are. They like that color, blue, or just being blue in some way. So they used to rescue humans on this planet at times of need, meaning that if there were war, if there was a skirmish, if there was something like that, the people that were left harmed on the field, you couldn't extract them, there was no time to take them off the field, they might have even been expired, they in some way, along with others as blue beings, would come and take them.
Because they're from the future, is there any helpful information that the Blu Avian can share with us?
So he would say the mindlessness of what we do to this planet out of greed or control, that we are not paying enough attention to, and we have no knowledge base of what has happened to other planets that were in the same trajectory as we are in, that have compromised the integrity of their planet in the future of being an overseer of other planets that were similar to Earth, that have gone in a similar way, not with the population that we have, but less, that have harmed smaller planets because of choices that they've made. What he's seen is that our trajectory is very similar to other planets that he's observed and that he is familiar with, even if he hasn't observed them in their textbooks, in their history of overseeing other planets just to gather information, because they're more of a gathering information, they don't interfere. He's seen what has happened to choices that humans and other multidimensional beings in their own evolution have made that have brought their planet to a place of desolation. He's seeing that for us to pay attention to that it's like it's in our back of our brain, but it's not in our forebrain, in taking immediate action. It's going to happen in 10 years. It's going to happen in 15 years. We can set this goal to happen within 3 years. But his overview of what he's seeing is that this should have happened 25 years ago. The trajectory is, even though there's choice and even though there's possibility of turning things around for where he sees this might go, that it's now the time to have the mind change and not live in the mindlessness, not live in that place of where you believe we're the only beings on this planet, or the only beings that take care of this planet. We don't take care of the planet. That's what his advice would be, is to really be mindful of everything in nature, because nature is stronger than us.
I'm guessing he already knows whether we're around in 300 years then.
So his words would be, there is a smattering of humanity.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know? And he's saying, he doesn't call it we're all in choice. So even now, in this particular time that we are living in and witness to, those that are leaving are in choice in some ways. We may not think that they are, but they're either volunteering to leave, or they're being extracted through choice, or the kind-heartedness of humans as he sees it, and that's why he wanted to be human, because totally in that place of the kind-heartedness of humanity that he believes still exists, even in our timeline that we have right now, is that in the bigger picture, when we all see the ramifications of choices through decades, through hundreds of years, centuries, that there's still a part of us, even if it's a spark, that will do what is necessary for the whole. And so people are volunteering.
Right.
It may be hard to understand that or value it or even conceptualize it. But that's what he's saying. This is all done in choice. Nothing is being done to us. It is all done in choices, maybe not ours, but those before us.
Right. Well, I agree. And I think that's the best part about being human, is that we have this free will and have the power to choose down to the minute ways that we can help this planet or any other thing. If we can remember, our basic kindness is pretty profound. Like when we're kind with one another, it's deeply, deeply changing. And it's such a vibration. I mean, it's such a strong vibration, our human kindness. I was in New York City yesterday, and I just remembered, I saw a couple of nurses, walking by, and I thought, this whole city celebrated nurses during COVID, and every night at 6 o'clock or whatever time it was, they would come out on their terraces and sing or bang pots. And
Right.
that human kindness moved me in the moment. This city is connected in a way, even when there's also a difference of opinion and different political views and things that divide us. There's a real connection between each other when we can tap into that kindness.
And it's a celebration. That unity that we experience in moments in our life is a celebration, because it changes the vibration not only of us individually, but collectively.
Oh, I agree. Yeah. When you have a city like Manhattan coming together every night at 6 p.m., I can only imagine how that changes the vibration of the planet. Back to Blu Avian, is there anything that we can, besides being conscious of the earth and really taking care of her, is there anything else we need to do or prepare ourselves for?
Well, change is inevitable, is what he would say. We're already in the middle of the flux period, that it is not coming, it is here. It's as simple as the kindness to each other. If you are kind in general, without the judgment, without the criticism, without the violence, without all of that, if you learn to fly above the radar in some ways, to be not in any of these malicious groups or consciousness that some people feel like they have to have in order to feel in control, that the element of gratitude and kindness is the heart of what humanity really is about. And if you bring that into your life on a regular basis, then the vibrational energy, the earth changes, everything you do becomes something that is a higher vibration. That's what he would say, is to be prepared for the inevitable, but staying firm with your gratitude and your neutrality and your kindness is something that surpasses whatever comes to us. Like we still have choice here.
Yeah.
Every day in his long life experience, we don't see a lot of us here on earth as humans because of indoctrination and old belief systems. We aren't taught, and we don't believe necessarily in the longevity of our souls when we leave this physical form. So this is it to a lot of people, right? I have to get the most that I can. I have to make sure I survive, my family survives, because there's nothing else. And if that was changed, if we understand that we are all energy and that we are vibration, and that when we take our last breath here, there is another breath somewhere else, you know, that we can choose to do, but we're in that flow of that, then holding on and greed wouldn't be as important here, because there's always something more
Right.
that we have choice with and that we can create.
Right.
And he's saying that it's taken a really long time for him to conceptualize that as being a human in many lifetimes, and then becoming a blue being that was off planet, that chose not to be here, and then eventually becoming, you know, and there's still other levels past him in the Blue Avian, but that's the one that he's really relates to for us as humans, of who he is and who he is on the council.
Can you say more about who he is on the council?
There's two on the council that don't speak a whole lot. Blue Avian is one, and Arcturian is another. And they are very much pillars of, how do I say, integrity. They hold a space, they generate an energy. Blue Avian would be called on in his position of asking questions like this of the future, or what do Blue Avian, how can Blue Avians assist in humanity at this point based on his overview? So he would be called on that. He was brought into the council, I think, more in what he can do for us in the future in a council than now. He's part of it, but he observes and he interacts when needed, but he's not as a significant timeline as would be Kashmir or Ali Wazar, or those that are significant to the council of holding certain kind of energies or timelines that shifted humanity. Somewhere along the line, I believe his understanding of humanity would be important later.
It's very interesting. One of the questions I have was actually brought from the Blue Avian for us to ask, and it's, do you find that others are frightened by your appearance?
Yes. I can only say in my thing, there wasn't a fear of him first coming in. First, he's a huge presence. It's a broader shoulders. It's got this flame red hair. You got a face that is very avian-like. I've always had, which is interesting for me, that he is a Blue Avian in coming in at this time, because through my childhood, my mother would always buy a blue parakeet. We had 19 of them. Anytime someone would pass, they'd move on, they get lost, they'd fly out, they'd do whatever, you know, we'd get another one. And it was always a blue parakeet. I know the sharpness of their bills, or so it was a bit cautious in what that was. He primarily, by the way, communicates telepathically and not verbally. When I have heard avian speaking, it is in a very different dialect that I don't understand. Telepathic works well for us. But yes, those that feel like they're connected to avian energy, just be prepared that if they do come in I have not seen him in a visual aspect like some of the other beings that come in and they manifest themselves for a split second in a visual. For me, it's like literally my eyes open. So even if you bring them in a meditative state, what I would say is just prepare yourself as much as you can, because as soon as you move into fear, none of the multidimensionals will choose to exist in that energy.
Right.
You know, you have to move past that and just allow staying as neutral as you can, being inviting in, actually creating, looking at his image that I painted might give you more relaxed state of inviting them in. And I don't know at this point if they all look the same. They may not.
Right. It would be odd if they did, actually.
Yeah.
All of our avian creatures
Look
have
different.
nuances, you know. I mean, even if they're a particular sparrow, there are little things that are different about their coloring,
Right.
you know, and certainly there's differences between the different birds. I mean, very, very interesting. So that's all I have today. Do you have anything, or does the Blue Avian have anything else he would like to share with us? And am I using the proper pronoun?
He,
Yes.
yes, he is a he, even though they're androgynous, prefers to be a he. He just wants to make it clear, and I don't know if something is surfacing about this that's on Earth in the underground place, or, it's not in main media, but this is a new information for me. He just wants the listeners to know that he is not military. So I don't know, like they are not military. It's not just him. They are choosing to not be involved in the military bases at all. So I don't know if there's something that might be coming through in other areas that are signifying that they are military, they're being controlled by the military on this planet or any of that, but he is making it just like a very firm. And you know what? It may be because they were blue beings that were protecting the military men. Remember, they were taking them off. So he wants to make it very clear that they are not that anymore, that they are in their sole proprietorship, that they have made choices to be this, that they are not engaging in any way in our military. Not just United States military,
Sure.
nothing on the planet military.
That's great. That's very clear.
That would be it.
Well, great. And please thank him for us, for me. It's a treat to be able to speak and ask direct questions through you, Darlene. These different beings on the council are very unique and interesting, and I'm very glad that we get to explore it together.
And he's good friends with a kahuna, by the way, which I didn't know. But I would imagine, yeah, and if there's kind of something there. Yeah.
Right. That's all for today. I want to remind everyone to submit their questions, which we will now answer at the top of each episode. Next time, we're going to be working with Kashmir.
Yes.
And is there a pronoun?
Kashmir is definitely more human DNA than a lot of the others on the council, and she is a she. She's a high priestess.
All right. Well, we'll save that for next time. That's just a tease for us. Thank you. Have a great day.
Everybody enjoy our conversations as much as we do.